Hey everybody, welcome back to Young Engineers of Today. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope you did something, interesting or fun or whatever. Uh, or maybe, you just got homework done, but hopefully you made good progress on that. We're going to continue with SketchUp. So that's not really surprising to anybody, I imagine, but we're going to learn a little bit more about all the different features of SketchUp and stuff like that. And then we are actually going to maybe potentially spend some time today building like a big thing in SketchUp so that you guys can sort of get more comfortable with how it operates. So with that in mind, you couldn't get it to download properly. Yeah, that'd be the one, Noah. So we'll go over it again, I guess. Maybe we'll spend some time doing something else after that, just so you can at least get some new material. What do you mean, Grayson? Like it doesn't open when you download it, or the download doesn't start, or what's going on? It wouldn't finish and didn't start. Uh, okay, so you mean the download wouldn't finish and the installer wouldn't start. Is that what you're saying? Okay. I know this is a pretty basic question, but you have enough space on your hard drive, right? Okay. Um, what browser do you use, Grayson? Hmm. Do you have any antivirus software installed? Okay, my suspicion is that it's probably trying to scan the download before it finishes. Um, Potentially. And that's hanging up the process. I don't know for certain, but that is my first hunch. So it's possible. I don't normally recommend this, but it might be possible to disable your antivirus software just for that download and see if it actually completes downloading. Otherwise, you might want to look into maybe downloading it on another computer and then putting it on a flash drive and then putting it on your computer from the flash drive, because that might do the trick as well. And yours is still not installing completely, Jacob. It just gets stuck at that .NET part. Okay. Oi, oi. That's all I gotta say. That's odd, uh, Jacob with a C, because most installers nowadays should provide those DLL files, just in case. Um, okay, let me see. Let me see if I can look up anything on the SketchUp stock on. Do you have any idea, Jacob, with the C, what the missing DLL file was called? Gotcha. It should be just another moment, Brandon. I'm just going to provide a link for Jacob, and then we'll move on. Oops, wrong one. That's the .NET framework, Jacob. Why don't you go ahead and download that? Because unfortunately, the way SketchUp works, they use a Microsoft-provided mechanism to install the .NET framework, and so they don't have a way around that, or they don't have a way to fix that. However, the way around that is to already have the .NET framework on your computer, because all it does is it checks to see if it's there. It still won't work as well. Okay. Is it stuck on the same step, Liam, or let me go ahead and get SketchUp open. No, that was for the other Jacob that was running into the issue with the .NET. I don't know how to fix yours unless I know what the DLL file missing is. It won't even load. Right. That was because your computer did not meet the requirements. Remember, that was the whole thing we went over last time. Yeah, you'll need to do that before you can run SketchUp. Unfortunately, it's just your computer just doesn't fulfill the requirements. All right. I guess in between lessons, Jacob, if you could at least re-download the installer and let me know what the DLL file that's missing is, so I can help you out with that. Because I need to know that before we can try and troubleshoot it. Usually, it just involves getting that missing DLL file. But yeah, so otherwise, if you're working on getting it installed, go ahead and do that. Um, if you, what's up? I we can take a look at it at the end of class. That's a new thing for me. I haven't seen that before, but I can take a look at it after class. See if we can't figure it out. Okay, so basically, what we just went over like the very basics of SketchUp last time around. We just talked about how you make three-dimensional shapes, and what that involves is, well, making two-dimensional shapes and then push pulling them in order to turn them into three-dimensional shapes. Now this the push pull Command is actually pretty versatile because you have the ability to push/pull in multiple different directions on a three-dimensional shape. However, there is one caveat or whatever that we sort of touched upon in the last class, and that is it needs to be a flat surface. So this curved surface on the cylinder won't actually work. It makes things like making spheres pretty difficult to do, but there are workarounds for that, which we'll go over probably a little bit later in this lesson today. But that was essentially the bulk of the lesson last time around. We didn't really actually spend time going over much, or I guess that was me. I didn't really spend time going over much. Just as a refresher, you can either use the tool up here, or you can click and hold on your mouse wheel in order to rotate. If you hold down Shift and click your mouse wheel, you can pan, or you can use the little hand tool up here. And you can roll the mouse wheel forwards or backwards in order to zoom, or you can use the zoom tool up here. And it's important to note that your mouse will, your view will zoom wherever you have your cursor. So if you want to zoom in on a specific part, place your cursor there first before you start to zoom in. But that was basically just like the very basics, very, very basics of SketchUp. There are a couple of other things that are good to know insofar as how SketchUp operates before we really get into making anything with SketchUp, and that is it has something called sticky geometry, which is sort of a strange term, but let me show you. So we can take the move command here. Well, hold on, let me use the selection command first, and then I can triple click to select the entire shape. Remember, single click for a face, double click for a face including all the lines that make up that face, and triple click for an entire shape. So I can triple click in order to select the entire shape and move it. And let's see here, if I move it into this other shape, as you can see, the shape sticks to it. And this is something called sticky geometry. Basically what this means is SketchUp is doing its best in order to reconcile the two different shapes. It assumed that since I touched the two of them, it wants both of them to be connected. So if I move it, it's going to basically try and keep those two connected however it can. Not always ideal. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't. In case, you know, oh, awesome. Excellent, Liam. All right, so there you go. In case that happens, you can always undo it back from that step in order to separate it again. Not a terribly, you know, crazy thing, but sometimes it can get kind of annoying when you're moving an object and you accidentally move it too close to another object, and suddenly they're stuck together, and you get something like this. It can be useful though when you're looking for, you know, that actual, you know, that actual feature. There's also grouping, which can be pretty useful, and you'll see why in a moment. So if I select multiple objects, so I'm triple clicking these two things and this cylinder that I created, so all three of these shapes are selected, and if I right click, I can go to make group, and then I get this box around everything. So now I can just click once and this entire box is selected, and I can move everything all at the same time, the same distance away and everything like that. This makes sure, basically this ensures that you can move a set of objects around and keep them in the same position relative to one another. So let's say, you know, I don't know, let's just say this is a very simple factory and office building for like a little miniature model of a city I'm doing in SketchUp. If this little industrial park is set up properly, but it's just in the wrong location, well, you know, I can make them a group, and then I can move the group around until it's properly placed. So like, you know, this dude is no longer covered by the buildings or something like that. So that's something that you can do. It's not, you know, it may not seem like terribly easy to tell what you might use it for right now, but as you get further along with using SketchUp and stuff like that, you'll definitely find uses for it, especially when you start making more complex designs. There's also the rotate tool, which has a couple of steps to it. So as you can see, I click on the rotate tool and I get this looks like a protractor or a compass. And depending upon where I put it, it's a different color. If I have it on a vertical face, I guess it's a horizontal plane facing vertically. It's going to be on the y-axis. So anything we rotate will be rotated around the y-axis. It's pretty simple to use. You click on it. You click it once in order to basically anchor that protractor somewhere, and then you click on it again in order to set a starting point. Or you just click again to set a starting point, and then you can start rotating the object by, moving your cursor around. It will always snap to its original position just so you can have, like just in case you didn't want to rotate it or you want to rotate it 180 degrees, the back end will snap. It will also snap to the axes that are along it. So as you can see here, it's snapping to the red axis right now, or it can snap to the green axis, which is also its starting point. So you could have potentially 3 points that you could snap to. Now, as you can see, again, that depends on where I place it. If I place it basically on the forward-facing face, it's on the same plane as the green axis. If I do it on the side, it's the same plane as the red axis. So then I can put it here and rotate it along the green axis for it. We'll snap it back to where it was, or I can place it along the red and rotate it along the red axis, because there are always, 3 different places that you can, 3 different axes that you can rotate it on. Then we've got the scale. You can obviously rescale an object using the scale. Just click on it, you'll get a bunch of green boxes around your object. Select one of the corner boxes. You're going to use the standard template feet and inches. It's like the first option. The corner boxes will keep the scale for the object. The other boxes will not. They'll just either stretch it or compress it while keeping the other, bits sort of to scale. But dragging on the corner boxes will keep everything to scale. It will resize everything at the same rate so that it stays the same proportions. So we can make this much larger if we wanted to. And now we got a little miniature factory for this dude. And a little tiny building, a shack of a building for this guy. But anyway, that's the scale tool. Again, just remember that using the corner boxes will keep the same scale, uniform scale. Using any of the other boxes will basically not give it a uniform scaling across all dimensions, which can be useful. It depends on what you need, as always. There, we'll put that back. But again, that was mostly just to show off grouping, because as you can see, all that stuff that I did, it all operated as a group. So all the scaling and the rotating and the moving and everything like that, it all operated as a group. If you want to ungroup it, you can right-click on your group, go to Edit, and you should be able to draw stuff out of the group. No, apparently not. You want to explode it. That's actually what the term is called exploding, because it separates it back into its into everything that comprises the group. So right-click, make group. In order to make a group, right-click on a group and select explode in order to turn it back into its objects. You mean move your view around? If you have a mouse wheel, you can click it in order to rotate, or you can hold down Shift and click in your mouse wheel to pan, and then roll your mouse wheel back and forth to zoom. Or you can use the tools up here if you don't have a mouse wheel. So you can use the orbit tool, just click on it once and then click and drag in order to rotate around. Click on the hand tool to pan, again click and drag, or you can click on the magnifying glass to zoom and click and either drag forward or back in order to zoom in and out. Left and right doesn't really do anything. The only reason that it's actually zooming a little bit is because I'm not moving my mouse perfectly horizontally. There's a little bit of up and down motion as I'm doing this. That last button, by the way, fills basically all of your objects like to the screen. It sets the zoom so that all of your objects fill up the screen. But again, that's grouping. Can be useful, largely depends upon the project that you're working with and what you're trying to do. That's the other thing too. We can select a group and cut and paste, or copy and paste, in order to create a copy of that group. In addition, we can mess around with that copy of a group and the original group stays the same. Not really all that surprising, you know, if you copy and paste words in a text editor or something like that and you edit the second group of words, it's not going to affect the first group of words. This can be useful or this can be annoying. It's useful in case you want a bunch of similarly structured groups, but at different sizes or rotations or whatever. It can be annoying if you want them all to have the same setup, as in like rotation and scale and such. But after you make all the groups, you realize that you made it the wrong scale, that sort of thing. So you want to be sort of mindful of how you copy and paste, because again, you're not going to be, you won't affect all of them just by affecting one group. They don't carry over traits from one group to another. On the other hand, you've got components. Now, components are useful to make many copies of things, just like groups. The difference is, if you edit a component, the change is transferred across all components on the model. So this is like a group, except they're always going to be the same. If you make a change to one, all of the other copies of that component are going to reflect that change. So we can make a component by basically taking a group and using the make component command. So let me go ahead and, oops, right-click on my group here, and I can select make component. And we give it a definition and a description. We'll call this little buildings, and we'll say the description is, these are my awesome buildings. And we'll hit create. Now, if we were to create a copy of this and plunk it down, like a few of them, and then resize, let's say this one. Wait, what? Why aren't you resizing your components? Why aren't you resizing your components? It's because you can't copy paste components. So the way you do this instead is you go up to Window, there's no, okay. Instead of that, let's find the components. Aha, it's over here in the default tray. Whoops. I always have the GoToWebinar screen covering that. So as you can see over here in components, we've got little buildings, which is the thing I created, and I can just click and click again in order to place it in the world. So now, all right. Now if I resize this one, oh, come on. You're killing me, Smalls. Well, we can edit the component. We can scale it. And that, as you can see, when I triple click on something here during edit component, it's selecting all of the instances of that component, and then I can scale it down. And now we can see everything is updating in real time along with it. So we got a big giant mess, we got little tiny buildings, you know, whatever. So that's components. Basically, the main difference between components and groups, as I said before, is groups will not reflect changes across everything. Groups will not reflect changes from one to another, whereas components will, especially if you're modifying the original. Whoops. So that's just something to keep in mind. Let me move this back over. There we go. So now with sort of the basics into place, let's go ahead and let's make a thing. And Noah, you know exactly what we're going to make. But hopefully it'll be a good refresher. And we'll also probably spend some time making some other stuff too. Well, no worries, Jacob. Like I said, we'll spend some time at the end of class trying to help you get set up. And in addition, this video will be up on YouTube. I know, Noah, but okay, so you tried downloading it and it did finish this time. It still won't start. All right. Is it giving you a message when it's not starting? No, it's just not starting at all. Like you double click on it and nothing happens. All right. We'll try and spend a little bit of time after class with that as well. And there's an error for you, Jacob. Is it's still related to the .NET stuff? Well, that's wonderfully vague. Not not that I just mean that that error message is not terribly helpful. Thanks, SketchUp. Let me try re-downloading it or something. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head because that just doesn't that error message doesn't convey any information. And again, that's not your fault, but no, if you double click a component, it will automatically go into the editor mode for it. Well, again, Jacob, we'll spend some time at the end of class um, trying to troubleshoot that. How do you do measurements? Well, you can use the little measurement tool up here. It looks like a measuring tape, and then see how your cursor turns into a piece of measuring tape. Um, if you mouse over a shape, you will get, whoops, there we go. If you mouse over a shape, you will get like a purple diamond that tells you what your starting point is. If you mouse over a corner, you'll get a purple circle, and that'll tell you that you're starting on a corner. So you can just start on a corner and go to the other corner. And if you hold your mouse there, a little tooltip will pop up letting you know about the measurement. So this is about 86 feet and 9 inches. Um, down here is about 34 feet and 11 and a quarter inches. The distance here is about 137 feet. So, you know, you can use that in order to get uh, additional information on measurements. And thank you, Brandon. Yeah, if you double click on a component, you'll go into editor mode for the component, which will allow you to make those changes across all of the components. Oh, okay. So yeah, let's go over that because actually let's go ahead and just boop, start over from scratch. Boop. All right. So if I wanted to make your shape, like if I wanted to make my shape a specific size, I can go ahead and click on it, and then down here in dimensions, we go ahead and select this shape. Okay. So I can type my dimensions in manually. That doesn't really do a whole lot of good though. 150, 50, 150.0 times 50.0. You just type it. Right. I misspoke. And like I was saying before, it is called measurements. And you just start typing numbers as you're creating a new shape in order to type into it. You don't click on it or anything like that. All right. Okay, so that's how you do it. All right. So, okay, yeah. Well, just to clear that up. So, in order to enter in specific measurements, let me go ahead and zoom in here. Oh, good Lord. So what I can do is I could start to draw my rectangle, right? So I'm going to click once, and I'm just going to move my cursor, but I'm not actually going to click or anything like that. I'm going to take my hand off the mouse while it's sitting here like this with like the undrawn rectangle, and I'm just going to go ahead and type 50, and then a comma, and then 150. And it'll automatically populate in the dimensions down here in the lower right-hand corner. Let me go ahead and circle it just so you guys can see it. So wow, that was a little bit, I messed up that circling. Yep. And then I'll go ahead and highlight it as well. This might seem like a bit of overkill, but just I want to be sure. So like as I'm moving the cursor around before I actually click to make the rectangle, down here, okay, you don't want to cooperate now. All right, let me go back and try it again. As you can see, it's populating with numbers. And then I put in the comma so I can do two separate dimensions. So it's 50 by 150. If I type in 50 and then comma 150, it gives me a 50 by 150 rectangle. And that's how you can manually put in measurements. Again, I apologize. Dimensions was the wrong word for that, but that's what I thought it was called off the top of my head. Nice, Liam. So yeah, that's what we're going to want to start with, is a 50 by 150 rectangle. And this is going to be sort of your starting base. From here, we're going to build on everything else. So once you've gotten that, right, offsets. Now, first off, let's go ahead and push-pull this. We'll click, and then we can just type in 2 down here, and it will automatically set it to 2 feet. Or 2, what? That can't be right. Why did it set it to 2 inches? Yeah, it's 2 inches. All right, so 2.0, 2.0. Oh my gosh. $150, and then a single quotes, comma, or 50, and then a single quote, comma, 150, and then a single quote. So yeah, you got to be careful about your units as well, because SketchUp will default to the smallest possible. So when I just typed 50 and then 150, it defaulted to 50 inches and 150 inches when I wanted 50 feet and 150 feet. So in order to fix that, just make sure you type one single quote afterwards, because that's the shorthand for foot. Also, you can type Whoops. You cannot type feet, but you can put in inches manually. Your rectangle disappears as soon as you enter a measurement. So maybe you're zoomed way out and it's small measurements. Are you putting the little single quote in afterwards, like I was just saying? Or tell you what, why don't you go ahead and click on the magnifying glass with the three red arrows on it in order to fit what you've created so far to the screen. Okay, so that's how, yeah. Does anything pop up when you do that? Okay, excellent. All right, well, did you figure out what you did to fix it? Oh, that's annoying. Alrighty then. So yeah, 50 by 150 by 2 feet. And that will be your first set of steps. And then I'll show you a neat little tool, the offset tool. What the offset tool does is it creates a new face. Basically, it creates an offset from the edge. So if I want, I can move my cursor over to the edge and I get this red square, and the little tooltip says on edge. And that's great. I can just click once. And as you can see, as I move my cursor in, it's trying to create another rectangle where all of its sides are the same distance from the sides of my original rectangle. So up here at the top, this whole side, I can't move my cursor across it because it makes it smaller, but this whole side is a certain distance away from, or this edge is a certain distance away from this edge, and on this one, this edge is a certain distance away from this edge, and that's the same distance. I can do an offset outwards or inwards, but we're going to do an offset inwards. Again, I'm just going to type 2 and then a single quote, and bam, a square in the middle of the person. Nice. So now, if I use my selection tool, I can see I can select two different areas. We've got the inside area, and then we've got the outside area, which is minus the inside area. If I use my push-pull tool, whoops, and not push or pull the outside, but the inside, as you can see, I can move it separately from the rest of that big rectangle that we made. And so again, I'm just going to enter in 2 feet. Enter, bam. So now I've got basically some really easy stairs. And that was pretty easy, right? I mean, SketchUp is very good at solid geometric shapes. You're going to have issues with more natural shapes, but solid geometric shapes, SketchUp has no issues with. None whatsoever. Euclidean shapes too. You know, none of this weird physics breaking stuff. SketchUp doesn't do very well with physics breaking stuff either, unless it's your magical planes, Liam. All right, so far so good, right? Now what we can do is we can take our little pencil tool. See, as we mouse over this, we get a bunch of different symbols. A red square if it's on the edge, a purple diamond if it's on the face, a green circle if it's on an endpoint, and then interesting, we get this sort of teal circle right here, and this is the midpoint of this edge. If we just sort of mouse over it, kind of, you can see that it actually gives us the little midpoint there as a black circle. So we're going to start from the midpoint and go out 1 foot, hit enter, and we just get this line out here. Then we're going to go out 5 feet on either side, 5 foot, oops, 5 foot, and then just draw a line along the green axis back to our original rectangle. Then we're just going to erase that center line right there. So now we got this rectangle that's 10 feet across and 1 foot long, or it sticks out 1 foot and it's 10 feet wide. And then we can just push-pull this 1 foot. Bam. And there you go. You got a very simple step. Just like that. And we can repeat the process for the next step above. Go to line, find the midpoints, draw 1 foot, and then draw 5 feet on either side. And then you always want to make sure, see how the line is green, that means I'm along the green axis. You always want to make sure that you're going along the green axis in order to have this step be like a 90-degree angle. And then we erase the middle line, and then we can apparently not press pull. Oh, isn't that annoying? It doesn't want to because it's probably floating a little bit above the surface. Well, at any rate, we can get that addressed in the next class. As it stands right now, though, I want to spend some time troubleshooting some of your installs, because it would be nice if you could do this along with us. And then we will we'll break for the next couple of days, and we'll meet up again on Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll get everybody in on time for Wednesday, and have that be done. I'm going to go ahead and skip the poll questions for now, just to make sure I have the most time possible helping out with that. And then we'll just skip straight to question and answer time. But yeah, so if you don't have any questions about anything, you're more than welcome to head out. Have a wonderful couple of days, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Otherwise, hang on, and we'll either help you out with the troubleshooting or whatever you need. So yeah.